Hi everybody, Tahera Rene Christy here with Filter Free with Tahera Rene Christy, and this is our inaugural episode where I am going to chat to you guys about limiting beliefs. Now, the reason I chose this subject is because I have a journal out called Manifest That Shit. It's a manifestation and gratitude journal that I wrote some prompts to help guide you through to the ultimate destiny that you have for your life, whether it's you want success financially, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in relationships, whatever it is. You have the opportunity to get there through mindset. And one of the biggest topics that I talk about within this particular journal is limiting beliefs. In fact, to the point where I wrote a secondary supplemental book called Unleashing Your Thoughts, and getting you the opportunity to reframe your mind in the way that you think so that your mindset creates the reality that you in fact live in. And I feel like as a person who's been through a lot in their life, I've been through so many things, and literally I could talk for days with the amount of experiences that I have had that have shaped me to be who I am today. The biggest hurdle that I've always had to cross has been the way I think. How I think about myself, how I receive the way other people think about me, what I choose to believe about myself and what I choose to believe about what others say about me. I feel like a lot of the things that I've been through in life have been a toggle between my upbringing and the ideals that my parents had for me versus who I was inherently as a person. And my husband and I were at the beach earlier today, and we decided we were going to go on a date and talk about our goals and write in our manifest journals together. We write in them separately, but doing it as a couple has been an amazing journey for us because we not only get to write how we feel, but then share with each other how we feel about ourselves and about the other, and set goals for ourselves so that as a couple we're working towards the same common desire. Now, whether his goals are going to the left and mine are going to the right, which we're very opposite, oftentimes they are, I can put forth the energy, he puts forth the energy, so that whatever I'm needing or whatever I'm lacking and need from him, he can put out that energy for me and vice versa. And so one of the examples that I'll share with you guys, because it was really important for me to look at when I thought about my own limiting beliefs. One of the journal entries talked a lot about where did these beliefs come from? And I had to think about that. I was like, that's a great question. Where did the beliefs that I have that limit the way that I think and sabotage my ultimate desires and goals, where did those thoughts come from? And so I'll briefly read this to you, and you can follow along with me if you have your journal, or you can grab one off of the Amazon or my website. But it says, limiting beliefs are deeply ingrained convictions or perceptions that we hold about ourselves, about others, and the world around us. These beliefs create a self-imposed boundary on our thoughts, actions, and potential. They often stem from past experiences, upbringing, societal influences, or fear. Limiting beliefs can manifest in various aspects of our lives, in career, relationships, self-worth, and personal growth. Now, there's a lot more to this here, but one of the things that really got me writing in depth, I wrote a lot, in fact, was it says, write down specific goals or aspirations you have, but haven't pursued because you believe you're not capable of achieving it. What's holding you back? And wow, that was a powerful question. And I don't know how many of us have stopped to think about what one thing we haven't done as a result of whatever limits that we put on ourselves. And while I wrote this on, looks like the 30th of October, I talked a lot here about making room for growth, because in my past, I have not necessarily always had room for growth, whether it be because I'm a Black woman, just being a woman in general, being a single mom at one point in my life, coming from an impoverished background. I'm born and raised in Oakland. We didn't have a lot of everything. We had plenty, but not a lot of what other people who I currently live around have had. So these beliefs that I couldn't have been ingrained in me since I was a child. And the next question after that was, reflect on the origins of your limiting belief and trace back specific experiences, persons, or societal influences. Oh my God. Well, that just opened up a floodgate of multiple responses for me, because my family has always had a difficult time with who I am as a person because I did not fit in our family ideal. In fact, I have 4 children. One of my kids in particular is the lone wolf. He's my only boy, and he is very different from my 3 daughters who see life from a different lens than he does. But when I say my son is me, my son is literally the reincarnation of me. I was the black sheep in my family. I was the kid always in trouble in school. Not because I wasn't smart. I was actually damn near a genius. And my son is too, but because I thought differently. And the way that I thought gave pause to the adults in my life. And they oftentimes had a difficult time managing my strength and managing my conviction to kind of do what I wanted to do. And my husband and I, we were talking about this morning. I was explaining to him how I am not risk averse. I love taking risks. I love challenges. I love challenging myself. I love challenging others, to the point where some of my friends are like, dang, T, I mean, you just put it on so thick. And I'm like, if I'm not growing, I'm not living. If I'm not doing, I'm not living. If I'm stagnant, I am bored out of my mind. I am not living. And I remember when my mom used to say to me all the time, in the midst of being a single mom with 3 kids at the time, she's like, you just do so much. Why you do all these things? And I'm thinking, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like I have the capacity to do more. But my mom's capacity was very limited. Her Saturday was going out for a walk, having a nice lunch, doing some laundry, and going skating in the evenings. That was her Saturday. That was her week every week. And it was very consistent. And that's what she liked to do. And on Sundays, we went to church and we went to my grandmother's house and we had dinner, and that was her weekend. And she worked all week. And it was a repeat of that literally all of her life. And she was limited by where she lived. For example, my family's from Oakland. My mom stayed in Oakland until I moved away. And it was a shock when I moved away from the family, because I was like, there has to be more for me. I can't just stay in Oakland the rest of my life. There has to be more out there. So my family followed me to Southern California, where I currently live. But if I didn't leave, there would have just been no reason to leave. But that's the whole point. I was the black sheep. I was willing to take the risk to go live in a city I've never been to and meet new people and say hey and get rejected and try again. And my mom just very much did not like taking risks. And so marrying someone who is also very predictable was a very bold move for me in itself, because I get bored easily. But I thank God for the stability that I have in my relationship, because my husband is so consistent. And same thing with my mom. My mom was extremely consistent in my life, and I needed that stability. It actually provided a great service to me, someone who is just so unpredictable. And that followed me into my adulthood. Whereas I was in situations many times where the powers that be did not like my unpredictability. That the fact that they didn't know what my next move was, and they wanted to be able to control a situation, but you weren't going to control me. And I always tell people, I'm an air sign. Try bottling air. Let me know how that works out. You can't. You got to let air do what it does. It blows from there to here to everywhere, and it is what it is. And once I accepted the fact that I was different, that I was going to be different, that I was going to think different, I was going to move different. And many people would not like that. Once I was okay with that, that helped me in the process of unlimiting myself to believe whatever helped me to prosper in this spirit, in this body that I have, in this mindset that I have, so that I can use the gifts God gave me in order to bless others. For me, that was the whole purpose, not to conform to what anybody else's ideals of what my life should look like, but to inspire people by my difference. And I remember one party, random side story. I had a party, I want to say it was my 27th birthday party. And I lived in this little party house in Signal Hill. It was tight. It was nice. It was really expensive. And I only lived there for a year because I just couldn't afford it. But it was fun while I was there, nonetheless. I remember one of my friends at the time came in the house. He or she said, "Is everybody at this party gay?" I was like, not like everybody, but a lot of people are. And I said all this to say, not to say that all my friends were gay, but when I looked around, because I never noticed and I never thought about it, when I looked around, I was like, there are a lot of misfits here. Yes, there are a lot of people who are on the fray, a lot of people who are not socially acceptable. There are a lot of people here that are weird or strange or different, obscure, just not normal compared to the church going business types that I had to be around for my job and to congregate with my family who were, very much staunch Christians and lived a certain type of lifestyle. I tended to befriend people who were different because I'm different and in so many ways, and I have no judgment for difference. In fact, I embrace it. I love it. I think it's part of why my mindset is so unlimited and is so free, and why I'm able to shift on a dime of perspective, because I have so many different perspectives to gain knowledge from. I really feel like people lose perspective on life and what makes life beautiful because they limit themselves by their family, by their friend group, by the school they went to, by the job that they hold, by the standards set by society, by standards set by their friends or the people that they follow. I feel like living a bold life, because it's so scary, because there's so much risk involved, make people feel that living a normal life, knowing where their money's going to come from, knowing who their friends are, knowing, what's going to happen week after week, month after month, there's safety in that. And that safety is very comforting for most people. I get it. I so understand. But it does also limit you when it comes to the bigger things in life. Sorry, I didn't have my do not disturb on. The point is, you have the opportunity to grow in life when you focus on how you want to show up in the world. And how you want to show up in the world is based on how you think. How you think is going to be framed by your education, your background, your socioeconomic status, the people you hang around, the places you decide to go, the places you want to travel to, the cultures you interact with, the news media that you choose to listen to. All of those things create who you are. They create narratives, whether false or real, that you will go along with if you don't have real perspective. I thank God for my education. I really do. As a person who went and got pregnant in college and had my first child at 21, literally days before finals, that's its own show. I was shaped in a way that created a lot of limited beliefs within me, because I was a single mom, because I was a broke college student, and I had a kid and didn't have a husband and didn't have perspective at the time. It limited me for a very long time in my life. And as I've grown and as I've matured and as I've shifted from one set of mentalities but based on other people's limited beliefs, I'm now in the most free space that I've ever been in life, and I love it. And I tell people all the time, freedom ain't free. We know that living in America, if you're living in America, it is a sacrifice that other people have made on our behalf and a benefit that we enjoy. And the same applies to the way that you think and how you believe and what your set of standards for the way you live your life. Your values are going to be based on the freedoms that you enjoy. And that freedom is going to be based on how much you're willing to give up in order to gain what you feel is freedom for you. It's like success. Success for me is going to be different than what success is for you. Some people's success is making $1,000 a day. Some people's success is making $50,000 for the year. That just depends on the person. Success for some people is buying a yacht. Success for somebody else may be not taking that drink for the day. There are many different forms and ways of thinking what success feels like to you. And that's why it's so important when we talk about freedoms, especially in the political climate that we live in right now. Freedom for some people means being able to tell you exactly how I feel without repercussions. And freedom for other people is restricting you on what you can do with your life, your body, your family. But that's freedom for them because they got to tell you what you get to do. It doesn't make sense, but that's freedom for them. All I can do is understand these perspectives and decide for myself within the confines of the law what I'm willing to do in order to experience success and freedom for me. Freedom for me is being able to wake up, take my daughter to school, come back home, work my business, take a nap if I want to, go to the grocery store in the middle of the day or do laundry, and still get paid the same amount as I would at a corporate job. Now, granted, I work way more hours. There's way more days that I work. There's far more demand, but the level of freedom that I get from being a small business owner far outweighs the mental taxation that I had to endure when I was in an office working for someone else. So the fact that I've been able to unlimit my mind frame and think, wow, it's really risky to decide how much I want to get paid per month. That's risky just in itself. I mean, I've been in sales. I was in corporate sales for 20 years. So realistically, I decided my paycheck every month, but under someone else's constraints and under someone else's rules. That was a lot, but I was an excellent salesperson. So I decided I wanted to make 10 grand a month. Okay, cool. Let's go out and do this. You telling me this, if I make this many calls and I close this many deals and I, pay this amount in taxes and off my commission, I can bring home this amount of money every month. Okay, cool. I would work that and make it happen. I was unlimited in my belief of how much I could make within those confines, because I knew that if I go work for a job for money for a dollar per hour, and I'm working harder than you are, and we got the same job and we're both getting paid the same amount of money, that wasn't motivation for me. I'm a go-getter, and it just wasn't going to make sense for me. You're making $10 an hour. I'm making $10 an hour, but I'm serving 20 customers in that hour and you're serving 10. How is that fair? That didn't make sense to me. So I already knew I was going to work for commission, in my career when I first started out. I say all that to say it's so important to decide where your values are, what you value, and how you want to go after what you want in life. And that's going to become a part of your system, your foundation, your perspective that you present to the world. So now, as a business owner, oh my gosh, when I say I am flying without a parachute at times, it can be scary. But if you're a sporty type of person, you can find a way, instead of just head diving into the water, you can find a way to actually free float. And there's freedom in that. There's a spiritual awakening when you get that head rush of dopamine from making a big sale. But there's also the side where you could not eat very well for that month, because sometimes it can be feast or famine when you're on your own trying to make things work. There's no right or wrong answer. It's what value do you have on your time and your money? And what mindset do you carry when it comes to what you believe, how you limit those beliefs, or how you unlimit yourself in the way that you think? I can tell you that coming from both perspectives, knowing that I've lived both types of existences, they both have their own set of heartache and frustration, liberation and freedom. But I enjoy the life that I have now, and I will enjoy the life that I'm manifesting right now based on the goals that I have for myself, with myself and my husband going forward. So I know that unlimiting myself is the biggest part, and the key for me, and I'm going to go back to this because I brought it out because I actually wanted to read it to you guys, what I wrote down in my Manifest That Shit book. Because this hit me hard, because I had to really think about it for myself, reflect on the origins of this limiting belief. Let me go back because I need to give you what my limiting belief was. Specific goals, write down specific goals or aspirations you have but haven't pursued because you believe you're not capable of achieving it. What's holding you back? So deep. And I chose to write this down the way that I wrote it down because I've answered this question before, about 20 years ago. No, not that old, damn it. 10 years ago. It was about 10 years ago. But right before I published my first book, I was at a women's conference. It was like a ladies' luncheon, and we had to write 30 questions in 30 minutes. Questions about our lives, our backgrounds, and the very last question, the 30th question, was, if you died today, or if you died in the next 24 hours, what would you have not accomplished because of procrastination or because you have not pursued it? And when I say, before I even started writing down my answer, and as I continued to write that answer, I bawled like a baby. I just cried my eyes out. I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. Because at that time, I had an album that was in the process. I had a book that was half written. I had a business that I had not grown. I had all these projects in the air, but I had not taken them seriously because being a mom and being a wife was more important to me than self-care. And that's a whole nother topic we'll talk about. But when I tell you it was the swift kick in the butt that I needed to finish my first album, to finish my first book, which are now published, they're available on Amazon, that it was what I needed. And so I feel the same way about this particular prompt in the manifestation journal. And there's so many great ones, and we'll go over them as time goes on. But my specific goal or aspiration that I had not pursued because I didn't believe I was capable of achieving it, I said, I reject the idea that I'm not good enough or incapable of greatness. Because that's probably, I said it like that because I know at some point I thought that I was not good enough and I thought I wasn't capable of greatness. I know people see me that way, but it was a long time before I saw me that way. And I'm so grateful for the many mentors that I've had that I chose to listen to that instilled that confidence in me, because I was told so many times by so many people in so many ways. And then I think about all the people who didn't tell me, who were just like, ugh, she's annoying. Ugh, she's stupid. Ugh, that just said stuff and didn't see my desire to grow and just chose not to invest in me. I see you. I'm laughing. It's all good. I'm not laughing in a bad way, but I understand it's not everyone's calling to pull someone under their wing and to teach them and help them to grow. But man, I would have listened. And I wish that someone would have been bold enough to tell me the truth so that I could have grown in those moments. But I'm also a believer in everything happening for its reason and in its time. And I'm grateful for those who did pull me under their wing. Say, hey girl, your slip is showing. Come over here. Let's get you straightened out so that you can write a manifestation book that saves hundreds of souls. Anyhow, this is what I wrote. I reject the idea that I'm not good enough or incomplete or incompatible. Lord Jesus. I reject the idea that I'm not good enough or incapable of greatness. I reject the idea that I can't achieve my goals because of my race or gender or current economic status. I accept the current state of affairs and I make room for growth and increase that is imminent. I receive all of the blessings God has in store for my life and call upon the universe to send them my way expeditiously. I am full of gratitude and responsibility, and I am ready for the blessing. I unlimit myself and my thoughts that do not serve me. I reject all feelings that are not rooted in a bright future. I am meant to go from rags to riches and to teach other people how to do it for themselves. I will change lives with my knowledge and empathy. Love will guide my path always as I navigate the inevitable changes to come. Namaste, amen, and ashe. And I went ahead and dated it, the date that I wrote it. And it just touches my heart that even in my response, that was just a freestyle of my thoughts. I unlimited the idea that there was any limits on me. And that's because I've been doing the work. I've been doing the work for a long time, and I'm very grateful for that. So you can do the work too. It does require you to step outside of your comfort zone and see yourself in a different light. And how you speak to yourself is going to take you far, or it's going to keep you in a bubble, keep you very small and keep you very safe, very safe and away from the growth that is available to you. I want to share with you the second part of this. There's 3 parts, but I'll just do this for now. Reflect on the origins of this limiting belief. Trace back the specific experience, person, or societal influence. And it popped in my head immediately. I'll share my thoughts. My family has always been limited by religion, race, economic status, education, and social decorum. Ever since I was a child, I was told what I couldn't do because I was a girl, I was fat, I was black, I was ugly, I was a Christian, I was poor, etc. It wasn't until I went to college and learned about rhetoric and argumentation that I began fighting the ideals of not only societal norms, but the norms established by my family. My mom was very docile and timid based upon some disturbing issues she experienced as a teenager, which made her closed off from acting boldly and pursuing her actual dreams, goals, and desires. Her timidity rubbed off on me at times, but that behavior was a direct conflict to my nature. I was never fear averse. I love a good challenge and an impossible task, and seemingly impossible task, because I know my determination for success was grand. I'm grateful that I had my mom's example because it taught me what I can do it taught me what can happen if I stop believing. If I give up on myself and lean on my own understanding or the understanding of others, I would be destined to fail. I reject that. I choose to be myself always, to challenge my current mindset, to continue to grow into the ultimate version of myself. I choose to be mindful of the thoughts that exist without adopting them as truth if they do not serve me. I sit in the gratitude of my choice to unlimit myself, and I dated it. I hope that was powerful for you as it was for me to write it. First of all, it was at the beach when I wrote it, which was just awesome to be able to have my feet rooted in the sand and the breeze and the birds and the sound of the waves crashing. I know that's a privilege, and I am grateful that the beach is 35 minutes away from my house. But it gave me the opportunity to reflect upon how far I've come. And I know many people have watched my journey and seen me grow since I was a young single mom. I mean, I started mothering at 21 years old. I had 3 kids by the time I was 24, under 5. That was a lot. And that's just that, right? That's not my own personal development. That's not the bills I had to pay. That's not the relationships that I had to manage and maintain. That was just the state of being, right? And so now I'm so grateful for these experiences that have shaped who I am, knowing that I was extremely limited by my thoughts and the way that I could perceive the world, because the world had wronged me in so many ways, I felt at the time. And now the world is my oyster. I literally can have, be, and do whatever I want. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I posted, Southwest got flights to Honolulu for $199. I'll be there tomorrow. I think I said aloha, bitches. Either way. People saw that post like, haha, that's so funny. You're going to go to Hawaii. And when they saw me there the next day, they were like, this bitch was serious. She went to Hawaii. Because why not? I took my daughters with me. All 4 of us went. Why? Because I can. Because I'm grateful that the opportunity presented itself and I went for it. I think about getting the phone call for a random show, and I get random show calls all the time, but this particular show was a new game show, and I get lots of game show calls, and I tell them a lot of times, nah, I'm not interested. The requirements I don't care for. And I'll reject things all the time, but one in particular was like, it's a new show, you should try it out. I was like, okay. Pandemic hits. They cancel it. I was like, okay, whatever. Go on with life. They call again and say, hey, we're going to be one of the first productions back post-COVID. I was like, okay, I mean, sure, I'll try. I won $150,000 on that show. What a blessing. What a blessing to be able to go into a situation just because the funny thing is, I was losing the whole show. The whole hour we taped, I was pretty much winning most of the time. And the very last question of the day, she won. And as a result of she winning, she got control. And she was like, hey, she has to answer 7 questions correctly, which I'd been losing the whole day, in order for her to go to the final round. If she loses even one, you get to go. What do you want to do? She was like, oh, give her the opportunity to fail. I was like, bet, bitch. What I'm not going to do is fail. I will try and try and try and try again and try different and try another time, try another day, try another method, try with a different person. You will never take my try from me. You will never set me up to fail and watch me do it. Never. I will do what I need to do to get to the goal and the desires of my heart. And God's got my back. All I'm saying is, she was limited by her knowledge of my failures that she had witnessed and assumed I would continue to fail. I had a curveball for that ass. I had a curveball. I was determined. And it's funny because my husband and one of my girlfriends was there coaching me of what to pick in order to get to. I was like, I need help. What do you guys think I should do? And my husband's like, go with your gut. I was like, bruh, it's not higher or lower. What do I do? Go with your gut was his advice. I love my husband. That was the best advice, the most annoying best advice ever. Go with your gut. And my gut guided me to $150,000. I say all this to say, your mind framed, the way that you think, what you believe will find you in spaces of success or failure. And the choice is yours. And the reality is everything that you think, good, bad, or indifferent, is there for its reason. But whatever you give your attention to is what you will manifest. And focusing on limiting beliefs will help you to understand what's been blocking you from moving forward. It's the equivalent of going to your cupboard, pulling everything out of the cupboard, dusting it off, wiping it out, getting rid of the expired stuff, and then cleaning up in order to have to put everything back in. It's going to be messy in the beginning. It's going to pull up stuff that you don't want to talk about, see about. You're like, how do I still have Carnation's evaporated milk from 5 years ago? It's been expired. Because you've not been paying attention to that particular thing, right? So whatever you pay attention to is what you will manifest. So I'm here to help encourage you to pay attention to the things that you think, that you feel, that feed your eyes and your ears, because it is what comes out of us that defiles us, not just what we watch and what we read and what we hear. Eventually it comes out of you, and that's what comes from your values. And ain't nobody telling you to be perfect. I am not telling you to live a certain way or do a certain thing. I cuss and I love the Lord, because for me, it has nothing to do with my work. For me, I want to ensure that I live a great balanced life, because I find that when people swing the pendulum one way or the other, they live on these outskirts of extremes. They have these expectations that are unrealistic, and they're constantly in a state of uncomfortability. Uncomfortability that doesn't yield results, that doesn't serve them. When the pendulum is right here in the middle, it's a steady swing, it's a lull. And then if you need to turn it up one way or another to get a result that you're looking for, you have the ability to control it, so that there are also times where there's not a lot happening so that you can rest. Because when I tell you, I do a lot, but there are days where I don't have to do nothing. And I am grateful, because it gives me an opportunity to rejuvenate, to go back out, attack the world, and accomplish my goals. Unlimit yourself, not just your cell phone plan. Unlimit your mind. Unlimit the way that you think. Unlimit, like I say to people all the time, I'm not team no new friends. I know that's a double negative. I am team whatever friend makes sense for the space that I'm in right now. I'm happy to accept applications, but everybody ain't gonna get a membership card. Because the reality is, there are people who come in and out of your life during certain times of your life to serve certain purposes. Some people are there to challenge you in ways. They could challenge you in a negative way or a positive way. But your goal, your job is to learn why that is what it is. And if it needs to shift, then you got to get your mind right so that you can get into the battle to fight, so that you can win for another day. So I really hope that this time together was beneficial for you. I really hope that you gain an understanding of what it means to unlimit yourself and to go back into your past, find out where those limits come from, so that you can start writing down what your actual desires and goals are. Oftentimes we don't know what we want because we haven't figured out what we don't want first. I've been through enough life to know what I don't want. Now is the time in my life to figure out what I do, so that God can bless me with those things. You can't manifest, you can't be blessed with the things that you really want in life until you get out of that, what I don't want out of the way, so that you know what you do want, so that you know who you actually are, where your values are, what's important to you. So unlimit yourself. And I look forward to having another great conversation with you all as soon as I am able. Until then, live in love. God bless you. And I'll see you on the flip side.